Hey, thanks for joining me on the Recovery Vow Podcast today. I have got someone that I met while I was in Miami, Florida here with me, Tyler. Now, Tyler's from Texas, but he is working on a huge project that it fascinated me when he was telling me about it in Miami, but I want to go right into it. So this is my friend Tyler. Tyler, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let's just get into it as quickly as we can.
Absolutely.
What is Eden Ranch?
Well, Eden Ranch, that's
start to finish. Where did the idea come from?
So Eden Ranch is really a luxury luxury homestead community. So if you imagine a luxury golf course community, and instead of having golf in your backyard. So a lot of golf course communities will have homes surrounding them, and so we're building a community very similar to like I said, a luxury golf course community. But instead of a golf course in the backyard, it'll be a functional farm, agriculture, really a community that can bring people together. And oftentimes, I've been in development my whole life, real estate development and construction, and oftentimes it's generally the norm to build subdivisions. Where developers will try to punch as many homes as you can on a certain piece of property, and that's wonderful. That's just the way we've done things. But is there a better way? And so when the pandemic hit, I guess in 2020, we at the same time, my wife and I were looking for, I guess the dream that so many people have that's often on social media of who else, you'll see a common post of something to the effect of who else wants to get their best friends together or their family, buy some acreage, have some cows, some chickens, homeschool your kids, and get out of the system, so to speak. And that became really a prevalent thing during the pandemic when our food supply when we started having serious food supply challenges. If you recall going to Whole Foods that used to have great produce, all of a sudden it was not so great. I don't think that's fully recovered still to this day.
I remember going to certain restaurants and you order this has not a whole lot to do with what you're talking about, but you order a Philly cheesesteak sandwich and they wouldn't have any onions or peppers, and I'm like, why? And they're like, it's because of shortage. Yeah. And I'm like, well, there's a Whole Foods next door. They're like, they don't have any.
Yeah, or tomatoes or lettuce or whatever it may be. I mean, and the average, I don't remember the exact amount of hands, but I think it's, so don't 100% quote me on this, but I think it's over 70 hands will touch a piece of produce by the time it's consumed. On average. So from the time it's picked to the time, there's a lot of things that hands that touch a piece of produce during this whole supply chain from field to consumption or food to plate. And we have largely missed over the last many years where people used to have gardens. That used to be the commonplace, right?
Yeah.
So if you remember Grandpa and Grandma, or at least mine and many others, you'd have Grandpa and Grandma would have a garden. They'd have a root cellar. They'd have some chickens. That used to be the norm. And as we began shifting, into more suburbia, all of a sudden it's the Amazon mentality, right? I need it fast. I need it now. Yep. And people stopped really learning those skills. But there has been a serious push and a movement really where people are wanting to get back involved with their food. And I think that's really important.
It is important. And here's what I'm trying to figure out is those people that want to have less hands touch their food. Are these same people going to be the ones that farm their food? Or in a community like this, you will have a group that comes in and there's still people that touch it or process it? Does that make sense? So
I can go a little bit deeper on that. Yeah. And so imagine if you're so Eden Ranch is in Flower Mound, Texas, just a few miles away, and just a few miles north of where we're meeting today. So we're roughly 15 to 20 minute drive from the DFW airport. Of course, you can go out and buy land, hour or 2 hour away from a metroplex and find a lot of dirt. That's great. However, the people that really still have lives or businesses that need to be around a metroplex, it becomes really challenging for folks to be able to say, hey, I want to buy even 10 acres. 10 acres in the metroplex is hard to find. And if you do find it, it's generally, the cost of that land is generally expensive, to say the least. So when you can look at things at scale, when we bought roughly 330 some acres, 15 minutes north of the DFW airport, which really there isn't any large pieces of land anymore like that. So we're very thankful to be able to have found that piece of property. We got it from an older gentleman, a man named Charlie Cummings, who's now with Jesus. But he was an old oil field guy that had the property for a number of years, and no, he had not successfully sold it to anyone, although a lot of people tried. There's a lot of folks that tried getting it. But our vision was a little bit different. Our vision was, instead of just trying to get as much acre, get as many homes per acre as we could, now it sits within an area called the Conservation Development District. So where you have to have an average, you have to have a certain density, and you have to have green space. Well, before, kind of backing up a little bit, before I bought the property, I went to the town manager who was with Mr. Cummings, and I said, hey, we're involved with this documentary called The Need to Grow, or what's highlighted in that documentary. So Michael Smith is a star of the film. Rob Herring was the producer of it. Incredible film. So I'd encourage anybody to watch it if they can. It's on Amazon. But what Michael did in that documentary was take a system where he built and developed a system where he was taking wood waste and turning it into a biostimulant, essentially a fertilizer. And through that process, he was making electricity. And in the film, it talks all about that. So you can get in all the details there. But when I looked at that, I thought, really, that is something that needs to be expanded on. We have to get that out wherever it can be. And so when we were looking at Eden Ranch, we thought, well, if we have this green space and we have to use it, rather than just letting it set and people do nothing with, or God forbid, the town, which is often commonplace, where a town will get a park dedication or get something, and what they do with it, they'll spray it with Roundup, or they'll spray it with pesticides and all the normal things that do that, that are involved with, just general practices of maintaining open space. They cut it, they spray it, it impacts wildlife habitat, it impacts our pollinators, it impacts, there's very few things that are positive in any of that system. That system, in my opinion, is broken. Yeah. So
you told me a little bit about that when we were in Florida. Yeah. Just your thoughts behind. I think you asked me how often I play golf, and I told you, and you're like, do you ever lick your golf ball to clean it? And I'm like, well, it depends on how you say that. I lick my thumb and I wipe it off, and they said, but then you're licking all these chemicals and stuff. Yeah. And I think the people are going to watch this and you're like, why does Eric have Tyler on here about recovery? Right. Zero to do with recovery. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. But what you're saying is people, when they get on this side of recovery, they're living life, their brain is going to open, and they're going to want to hear different things. These things that may start sparking their interest. Yeah. Living clean, living healthy, living off the land. People go in these different directions when they choose recovery. And so that's why you're here. I just want you to know that too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Sometimes I don't know why I'm places, but
you're here for a reason today.
But whatever Jesus has me, that's where I want to be.
So tell me, this ranch that's close to DFW, where are you at are you like phase one? Have you cleared land? Have you started on the first house yet? Where are you at with Eden?
Yeah, thank you. So we are just waiting for our final town approvals. So when you're going through development and entitlements for getting something approved, you go through a number of different tweaks before you can get, which is probably one of the largest challenges in America when it comes down to housing, is small municipalities or towns make it so difficult on developers where it just takes a lot of time and resources. And so I don't know the exact number, but there is a substantial amount of cost tied up in our housing costs these days that is directly related to entitlement process that should not be the case. You're talking sometimes for example, if you were to go buy something, say it's $100, but you have to wait 3 or 4 years before you could do something with that, your cost on that $100 or $1,000, just pick a number, you have carrying costs, you have all the costs that go into it, your engineering, all of that. And I don't mean to, maybe will be included in this or not, but that's a serious challenge that our nation is facing when it comes down to getting projects built. Yeah. So we are in the final stage of that, thankfully, by the grace of God. So we expect to have that done on November 3rd. We go before our town council vote. I don't know when this will air, but
probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, so God willing, by then we'll have our town approval, and then you go into the engineering phase and start building. So
Eden is going to be its own town. Am I hearing that right?
Well, it's the best way to look at it, in the way that my brain works the best, is look at it like a beautiful golf course community.
Yeah.
So we're in South Lake right now. So there's a beautiful community up the road called Vaquero, which is a nice golf course community. We're essentially building a community like that, but we're just not having golf. Instead of golf, you're having cattle, llamas, donkeys, etc. in your backyards. So you feel like you live on a farm, but you don't have to do any of the work. So the club dues, just like a golf course, so your dues, HOA dues or similar, are going to maintain that same, to maintain that. So you don't have to do any of the farm work.
That was my question.
Yeah. So no,
you live there.
Yeah.
You're not off the land, but somebody else.
Yeah.
You'll have a team or a staff of somebody.
Again, just exactly like golf course. So when you live on a golf course community, they don't require you to go mow the grass. Now, right? So that's part of your due or your association dues.
That's neat. I like that.
It's actually it's so similar in that fashion that essentially your operating model and this employees from a staffing perspective, instead of a gentleman that's out there planting tulips, now he's planting tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. And I guess this same team, will there be some type of education that they will need before they get to you? Let's say that somebody hears this and I want to go work at Eden Ranch. This is going to be awesome. Are there certain levels of requirements, education that you'll need, or are there some ways they can connect with you to train and then become part of the staff and team? And then how big of a team are you going to need to operate?
We won't have that large of a team. You're talking probably a staffing team of probably less than 15.
Really?
On location, yeah. So
farming. 300 something acres?
Yeah, so we'll have, after the homes are built, we'll have roughly 150 acres of green space. Not all of it, not 100% of it all be farmed, but we'll be building incredible greenhouses because in Texas climate, we'll be growing things, trellises, which are kind of vertical farming. Mm-hmm. We'll be doing some of that, and you'll have seasonality that you can plant certain things. We'll be doing some vineyards on there, which will be incredible. So we're working through some of those details. We'll have, I believe, 30-some acres of fruit trees, which will produce quite a bit of fruit once they're mature. That takes a little bit to happen. But if you think about multiple greenhouses, say we have 5 couple thousand square foot greenhouses. When I talk about greenhouses, I'm not talking about your traditional hoop greenhouse that looks like plastic.
Yeah.
We're talking about your luxury, beautiful greenhouse that is a
smart greenhouse.
Yeah, well, but smart, yes, but beautiful, right? Because they can be done out of glass and wood and timber frames, so they can really look. And so those will be on the property. Those will also be amenities for the people that live there when they want to go grab their coffee or go for a walk, and they can go and kind of meditate and go in and amongst vegetables that are growing. I don't know. Do you know who Jordan Rubin is?
Mm-mm.
Jordan Rubin was one of the founders of Garden of Life. Wrote the book The Maker's Diet. Incredible man. You should meet him at some point. You would love him. But I got connected through Jordan Rubin through a couple friends, but also Dr. Pompa, who's on our advisory board. If you don't know Dr. Pompa, you definitely need to.
Oh, okay. I want to meet him.
Yeah, I think he's a leading doctor for cellular detox. And through our health and wellness journey, and actually a little bit about addiction, I'd love to hear more, about your story and your book and what you're doing. But a lot of our issues that we have in our health come down to our environmental factors or chemical, whatever those are. So those factors that impact our health, those are also things that even through addiction, if it's chemical addiction, mm-hmm. you can become really unhealthy. And you can have this toxin buildup that when you encounter whatever stresses they are, you can have a number of things that happen in your life that all of a sudden you might have brain fog, you might have, other issues that happen in your health, and getting to the root cause of that, is super important. So working with an incredible team and advisory board of folks like Dr. Pompa is another blessing. So Eden Ranch is not just a community that has a farm. We're also strongly focused on health and wellness, bringing some of the best medical professionals, I say natural focused medical professionals. Is
this play, and you talked about chemicals and brain fog. Mm-hmm. Tyler, I've done enough chemicals that would still give me brain fog.
Yeah, me too.
This facility or this location, are you targeting certain generations of people, or is it family to an older crowd? What's your demographic you're looking for?
the current Eden Ranch, so the first one we're doing in Flower Mound, so we have a vision to do many more. I believe God gave us a vision to build these all over the world, because there's a cry for community. And when you can build communities, actually foster community, for example, and just not to digress a little bit, but you've been probably to some incredible vacation spots where you might go to a Ritz-Carlton or a Marriott or something like that, and you go on vacation.
I've seen them.
You've seen them. But you can, if you go to, like, for example, let's say you go to Marco Island in Florida, okay, or you go to some place and you go to your resort, and there's always generally, there's activities, there's people gather around the pool. And oftentimes when you're on vacation, you will find that you actually build some friendships with people that are also there on vacation. Mm-hmm. So they have a common goal, common, interests, and now there will be some sort of event like whatever it is. There might be fishing in a pond or something like that, or there'll be this event or movie night on the terrace. Those activities, those elements of that, of having a curated experience where the community center becomes the heartbeat of the community, where there's where we'll have a farm to table restaurant on there that serves food from the community and other local producers. So that becomes that spot where you can have a gathering location for your community, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so where you really feel like you're on vacation because you've got your, the property manager of Eden Ranch, really the community manager is there working with the team to be able to put on events on a frequent basis where people truly enjoy being, just like they're on vacation.
Just like hanging out together.
Yeah.
It's not like it just creates atmosphere for you to choose what you want to come be a part of.
And people, now you could be involved with, if someone wants to go pick tomatoes and it's during harvest time, people get an email or a text or something, a way of communicating, hey, this is what's happening. Some people will want to. Now you asked about the demographic. We're intentionally going after building multi-generational communities. So all ages. I think that's really important that the different ages all live in kind of close proximity to each other. Mm-hmm. Now, when you go into a traditional development, you'll have one demographic, and that's what it serves. But then you'll have the ones that are very successful, you find have a place for seniors, or they might have some cottages built in. Yeah. And so where grandpa and grandma may not need a large house at this time, but maybe they get to still be in the same community where your kids can ride their bike over to grandpa and grandma's house, stop by the orchard, pick some apples or peaches or whatever they're grabbing, and walk through the vineyards or the the greenhouses.
Awesome. That sounds. Who wouldn't want to do that?
So it's really that same, when you say that sounds awesome, it really is just taking you back to your childhood when you're at grandpa and grandma's house, when they said, hey, let's go grab some potatoes. We're going to do potatoes for dinner, and you go out there, you pick beets or tomatoes or whatever it is, and you bring it in, and grandma washes it off. That's really that same feeling that we're going after. It's really just we're just making use of the green space in a productive way.
Yeah.
That's really all we're doing.
And you can compare it to, recovery if you want, because this is just a new way of doing life. Like, we get so caught up in the running and all the things, and then this just kind of hits a reset almost and just kind of slows it down. This is what life could be like. And I think that's really cool. Is this going to be, is this gated?
Yeah, it will be gated.
Gated community.
Yeah.
And then is there like an application process to become a neighbor?
We are actually working through the application process. I think so far there's roughly, at the time that we're talking about this, we have over 1,000 people on an interest list that say that they want to be part of the community. We're I shouldn't say over inundated. We have an incredible amount of people that reach out to us and that are essentially on a waiting list. Many of the lots are already sold or committed to, and I'm being very intentional. We haven't hired or brought on traditional marketing or realtors that are going out there, although we love realtors and they're that's an incredible field, and I have a great deal of respect. I'm trying, because it's our family where we're living, I'm trying to slow down to speed up. I'm trying to meet as many individual families as I can that will end up being my neighbors. They'll be the ones that my kids are playing next to, or they're riding their bike by. And so we're very, very intentional with that. Now, as we get things kicked off here, probably over the next month or so, at the end of this year, I guess in 2025, we will be opening that up, and then we will bring on some of our sales team or some sales team to help with that. But for right now, I've been really intentional with trying to meet amazing families.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you've got to do that, because you don't want to have someone there that just says, I don't want to live like this anymore, and they just kind of check out. You know what I mean? Because I feel like even though we don't have to do the work, we're going to have a team there that's kind of doing all these things for us. People can easily change too, So is there a way to get out? But I don't guess that matters. I mean, if you know that's what you want, that's the way you want to live. Once you get there, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and again, this isn't rocket science. This isn't anything that's really out of the norm for people, except that you have everything that I'd say your crunchy moms or your people that shop at Whole Foods or Sprouts or wherever, farmers markets, you're just bringing those elements closer to them. So instead of needing to drive to Whole Foods, which you still may do, and that's fine. But if you have some of those elements where your food is close to consumption, that's the key. Is you want food as close to consumption as possible.
Tell me some of the foods. I mean, you talked about some of the fruits and things like that, but are you talking about everything that you could ever need is going to be grown there, from potatoes to tomatoes to fruits?
Yeah, so
nuts, everything.
So we will be doing as much as we can, and as there's obviously seasonality, so you want to grow with the season. Greenhouses help. We're working with some incredible agriculture experts, Jordan Rubin being one of those that we're working with to help advise on the best practices of what we should grow, when, and how. And a lot of that will come from feedback from the community. And with the soil amendments from the documentary, The Need to Grow, and also having that the access to that will increase our nutrition density substantially. So all the tests that have been done when you're using the RegeneGrow product, which is essentially the biostimulant that's highlighted in the film, it really helps improve the soil. Improved soil makes your food healthier. So your nutrition comes from the soil.
Right.
So you can have a tomato, you can have an organic tomato that's growing, in California, and you can have an organic tomato that's growing, say, in Texas with RegeneGrow or having healthy soil. And the nutrition density of that is substantially different, even though it still may look like the same thing. But the taste and everything else would be dramatically different.
It's because of the soil.
It all comes down to the soil. We've been spraying the stuff that we've been doing to our soil, to the earth, to really our planet for the last number of years has really destroyed soil.
Really?
In a substantial way, yeah. That's why people have to eat so much more. We have to eat more to get the same amount of nutrients. So we wonder why we're fat. Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which is another great film if you've ever seen it.
I need to watch that one. I haven't seen that one yet.
It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is, but it's pretty good.
All of this is just interesting to me, and I think once this comes out, by then we'll have our Recovery Vow Collective, and we'll have people that are reaching out. And look, when they get on the other side of their addiction, and their mind's gonna open up to these different ways of thinking, they may have thoughts of wanting to connect with you and Eden Ranch and how they can serve, and just a lot of people. I think about a buddy of mine, Zach. They just choose a healthier lifestyle because we've lived such a horrible lifestyle that was not good for us. And so when people get to that point of recovery, they're like, all right, I'm going all in. I'm going to the gym. I'm eating healthy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And their thoughts change and they go toward this. So I want to be able to connect those people to you. Now, if anybody that hears this also wants to hear more about Eden Ranch, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Or do you prefer for them to get in touch with someone else?
Well,
because you seem like you're a very busy man.
Don't call my cell phone.
I've already given it out.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, buddy. But no, EdenRanch.com. Okay. Pretty easy to find us. We're also on social. We are actually also in the process of doing a documentary and doing a book as well that will come out. Eden Rising is kind of the floated around idea that will be the title. But working on really bringing awareness to elevating the standard of development. But also around addiction. I don't know how much time more we got for time. But talking about addiction, and I'd love to hear, a little bit more and how I can serve what you're doing. But I come from a background of addiction. So I used to drink a bottle of vodka 4 or 5 days a week for many years.
Why didn't you tell me that? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did that.
Did you tell me that in Miami?
I don't know if I miss it? It's maybe. But yeah, I used to, I also, when I was 17, I died from overdose of meth, came back from that.
Tyler.
So we can talk as much addiction as you want.
Well, let's shift gears then. I mean, I love Eden Ranch, but I love you too. I want you to tell me.
Yeah.
When was rock bottom? Like, when did you say, okay, this meth life, this alcohol life, I'm done with it?
So, I love being able to share a testimony, but I grew up, I guess the way to transition into addiction is, I believe that addiction is, how do I say it? It is a symptom. And people that have addictive personalities, and there's one is if you have an addictive personality, or if you're someone who may be considered an addict, that's generally God's gift in your life. You actually have an anointing for the elements that causes someone to fall into addiction. It's just that Satan has twisted that and is using it because we all have a God-sized hole in our heart. That's the way I explain it.
I've never heard that.
So
I mean, I love it.
So I believe that every single one of us is born with a God-sized hole in our heart. We all do. And we try to fill that with a number of things. And generally addicts who have, they have a lot of gusto for life. They want things now. They want to do things big. They want life now. And that's how I was, and probably you're like yourself. Those people that generally are addicts are also generally good leaders, generally CEOs, generally leaders in whatever they're doing. They're going to lead the party.
Yeah.
And so when
we don't like to fail. We throw a lot of stuff at the wall, and I don't care what hits the floor.
Yeah. And so for me, what I was trying to fill my heart with, so I grew up in a Christian home that was really strict, and kind of almost Amish Mennonite, but just very, very legalistic, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And amazing people, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. So I still had this hole. I knew who God was, but then I got involved with the wrong crowd. You heard that saying, if you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you'll get your haircut eventually. Mm-hmm. And so I had some bad influence, and ran with the wrong crowd. I wasn't a meth addict. I just tried it. Mm-hmm. And the buddies that I tried it with, I thought, hey, this is fun. I don't want to just sit around and smoke weed. That wasn't my thing. I didn't really like that, actually. But so this meth thing, I was like, wow, you can be productive.
What a great comp. Let's just not do weed. Let's do meth.
And so when I tried it, I was up in Minnesota at the time, and me and my buddy, Jamie, we had went and picked up some drugs, and when we got it back to the other kids that we were hanging out with at the time, I think it was 16, 17 years old. But when we got it back, us being selfish addicts, addictive personalities, we thought, well, no one's going to know how much we got. Let's just do a whole bunch. And so we did, and we did a lot of it. We may have done all of it. And so it wasn't too long after that we got a call from the drug dealer who said, hey, don't do that. It's a bad batch. We're going, oh, that's not a good thing. This is not good at all. And in your mind, I remember specifically going, I'm going to die. This is poison, right? So we know that this is not a good substance anyway. But then when you say it's a bad batch, that means, okay, well, what's going to happen? You. And so I remember driving on my way to my parents' house, probably 30-minute drive away. And halfway there, I went across some railroad tracks. And at that point, I watched my car drive across the road tracks. I was fading, and I knew that I was dying. And there's been... there's an incredible book called Imagine Heaven. If you ever listened to it or read it, but it talks about near-death experiences, and it is definitely worth reading or listening to. I did the audiobook, but there's really comes down to basically two experiences. I think even Reader's Digest did one years and years ago about either when people die, one of two things happens. You go generally to the light and you get happy, or you go toward the dark and get scared. That's basically what it's broken down into. Now, there's a myriad of different, things from there. But if you break it down to were you happy or not happy, I mean, really, that's what it is. I definitely was going toward the dark, and it definitely wasn't happy. So I said a prayer. I said, God, if you'll let me live, I'll live the rest of my life for you. I woke up in my parents' driveway 15 miles away, completely stone cold sober, with no effects of meth. And if anybody's ever done that drug, that you'll have physical effects. Yeah. So your mouth will be all chapped, and you'll just be all strung out. And
my last day, I was the same way. I did about $60 worth of crack at 7:30 in the morning and drank a pint for breakfast, and I was sober as you and me sitting here.
Yeah.
It's like, how much more have I got to do to feel anything?
Yeah.
I've done the meth before too, just wasn't my thing. But
yeah,
man, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, and so that's and so many years I called my friends the next day and said, don't call me until you're sober. So I didn't have to go through recovery, right? I didn't have to go through treatment, and by the grace of God, I didn't have to do that. But then I found that I still was wrestling with the same issue. I still never filled that hole in my heart. So as time went on, I never, to this day, you could never put as much drugs in front of me that would ever tempt me. There's zero temptation. It couldn't happen. But I did decide, hey, you know what? Drinking is a great way to solve the problems. And so self-medicating, that's where I got into drinking pretty heavily. And so,
but then you've turned that off too since, right?
Yeah. Yep. So
rock bottom for you was getting a bad batch and fading.
It's kind of rock bottom 1, and then
rock bottom 2.
And then when I would with alcohol, I realized I was a very functional drunk. I thought that I would, people would go to AA. And I went to AA. I had friends in AA, and that's helped many people. But and I hope you might need to cut this out. But as a Christian, I'm not so sure that I agree 100% with the AA model.
No, you're fine saying that. You're totally, you can say whatever you want. I did the 12-step AA thing right out of treatment, and it helped. Like I had to have the 12 steps.
That's wonderful.
But it's not what locked me into my recovery.
Yeah.
It was that relationship with God as I understood him. Don't complicate it, but as I understood him. And then when I had that perfect, beautiful relationship with Jesus as my higher power.
But we can be redeemed. And that's the problem that I have, I guess, with the AA group, the idea. And I love and I love people that are in AA. I celebrate the recovery, and that's amazing. Mm-hmm. But the mind shift from what Jesus says about you is that you can be redeemed. You can be born again. You can be new.
Yep.
And to continuously wake up every day and say, I'm an alcoholic is complete lunacy, in my opinion. Or I'm a drug addict. No, you're not.
Yeah,
you are no longer a drug addict.
Yourself like that.
No, when you speak that and you say that, and when you claim that, just like when someone says, there's some amazing people that are struggling with cancer right now. When someone says, I just talked to a lady yesterday, or I prayed for her, she said, my cancer is this, or I'm dealing with my cancer. I said, ma'am, can I just pray for you for a second? But I want to lovingly encourage you. Never say my cancer again. Don't claim any of that. It's not yours. Those are dysfunctional cells that are acting up. You need to speak to them. Jesus is more powerful. And of course, there is need for some sort of medical intervention. In many cases, sometimes Jesus will heal you miraculously. We've seen many healings. I see it all the time. That
just like you waking up in a driveway sober.
Yeah. God is in the healing business, but sometimes there is other things that are needed. I would encourage most people to think, to seek a more natural route as opposed to taking drugs and potions.
Yeah.
Because what's the root cause?
Man, that's great. I expected Eden Tyler to come here today, and I got Pastor Tyler. I appreciate it.
Man, and the whole heart behind Eden is just that, is really bringing health in alignment with how God called us to live. So hence the name Eden is, can we not build communities? Can we not live in harmony with nature? And how do we actually do that the way that God designed it to? Because I can assure you, it is not, God's design for us was not living in into a bunch of row homes with no community.
Right.
When we watch the fall, I'll say something that you can cut out for sure, but if not, it is around we call it the greatest generation, and it wasn't me who said this. So I'm sharing some. I wasn't the brainchild that came up with this, or it wasn't my brainchild. We talk about the greatest generation as the World War II generation, right? In society, right? They were the most amazing generation. I would venture to say it was that generation that may have been the catalyst that caused the fall of Western society. Here's why.
Explain that, yeah.
We used to be, before the Industrial Revolution, we used to live throughout the beginning of time, families used to be with each other. We used to live live near each other. Small towns where if you had family, you would not veer too far from the family farm. Or you'd get allocated a certain portion of property nearby. You had community. And the saying goes that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, all of a sudden, fast forward to the, after the World War II and the Industrial Revolution, everybody's going into suburbia. The American dream shifted from a farm and a family element and community to living in suburbia with a white picket fence, 2 kids, and a golden retriever. Now all of a sudden it became the family unit. What happened from it used to be the community, the family used to be a multi-generational unit, to all of a sudden now you have the family unit where you got dad working all the time, comes home and gets to spend time with his kids. That was good. But then as you progressed along, and we watched a number of things happen, but economically where all of a sudden, women's rights and women all of a sudden start, now all of a sudden you have two parents working. Maybe it's because, from an affordability factor, and we're dealing with that now. Life has definitely gotten harder from an economic standpoint.
Hard. Yeah.
And so
it's hard whether you're sober or whether you're in addiction. And once you get out of addiction, I feel like sometimes that's the biggest reason people may relapse is because of their demographic or where they are, but also their finances.
And stress.
The stress of both of those.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think we've been sold a bill of goods, and it's a bunch of lies from what the whole idea around what is success in America. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many, most people, or I shouldn't say most, many people are working, chasing careers they don't like, to have stuff that they don't really want, to impress people that they don't like.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy you say it that way, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, most people, there's so many things on, and people's lifestyle of who is someone on social media. It's like, is that the reality? Probably not.
Probably not.
You're seeing the highlights.
Yeah. You're seeing what they want you to see.
Yeah. And not, and I think that there's a better way, and I really am encouraged that there's I believe that we've reached a catalytic shift in time right now where God is shifting things in the world. We've seen that shift happen tangibly in basically September, along with when Charlie Kirk's assassination happened. We can feel that there is a shift. Something is different.
Something's happening.
But even before then, there was a shift of people waking up and people realizing, hey, something has got to change. Now, there is change in the air. That's the good news. And not to talk too much about that, but I think I'm excited about what God has for us in this coming season.
You're safe here.
Yeah.
I promise you.
So
Look, Tyler, let me say this. I can't thank you enough for coming by. I was looking forward to seeing you because last time we saw each other was in Florida, but I'm so glad you told part of your story.
Yeah.
I mean, your story then and then the things you're doing now, it's great. It's really great.
We're not doing anything complicated. We're not doing anything, it may look like new, but really what we're doing is fast forwarding to yesterday. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the basics. Fast
forwarding to yesterday.
Yeah. Let's bring community. Let's make community great again. Right? Because right now it's not. Mm-hmm. I mean, now there are in different church groups, and I really love the body of Christ and the church in general. A healthy church has community. But are they really being practical? One last thing I'll share that's been on our heart, and I've talked to some other folks about this recently, and it's been a common thread, is what is the difference between what makes say, for example, the Jewish community or maybe the Mormon community? Why are they so successful? And the answer would be probably community.
Yeah.
And
they're close.
They're close. They actually help each other. So when a Jewish brother has a challenge with their business or they need something, they share with the community and immediately it's solved. Right. And so it might be something like, hey, I've got a dry cleaning business, and they share with their community that, hey, I can't get this machine fixed. Well, there will be someone that says, hey, let me send you my guy. And it happens. Or, hey, you need funding or you need resources. That happens. In the evangelical church or a charismatic church or whatever you want to call it, the traditional, is that doesn't happen as much. It happens, but it needs to happen more. Yeah. And I really think this season that God's shifting is people coming together to actually practically do life with people. Jesus didn't say to make converts; he said to make disciples. Disciples happens around the dinner table. And I would venture to say, and this one might be, you might find this interesting. And I heard this the other day that I think it's worth repeating. Is there was a story of a woman of ill repute that came into church. And so she came in there in clothes that were probably not generally seen in a church setting. And so she came in and she said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give my life to Jesus. She did. Pastor came up to her, welcomed her and said, hey, sister, you know what? Welcome. Next time you come, let's put on some different clothes. And because she was getting a lot of looks, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't have very much on. Next Sunday comes back and is wearing something very similar. And pastor goes to her again and says, hey, sister, I thought we maybe talked about this. This is probably not the appropriate attire. And he says to her, she says, what should I wear? He says, why don't you ask God about it? Why don't you say a prayer, ask God, and he'll tell you what you should wear. So she goes back, and the third Sunday comes back, same thing. Pastor asked her, I thought you said you were going to ask God what I should wear. And and she said, well, I asked God. He said he's never been here, so he didn't know what to wear.
Oh my goodness.
So how many churches these days are people going into that are empty churches that don't have the Holy Spirit, that they may be playing church, but aren't doing church.
And you're really saying come as you are and mean it.
Yeah, but it's the practicality. Is Jesus there, right? Yeah. And so I don't know, that may be worth cutting out, but it's, I thought
everything that you're saying is worth keeping in. Believe me. And I promise you.
I appreciate what you're doing with.
I'm going to schedule a call with you. I want to tell you a lot more about what we're doing. Yeah. We could really use your help on some things and your guidance. But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming by the podcast and hanging out and being in front of the studio audience. I know it kind of freaked you out when you got here at first.
Thanks for having me. And no, I'm glad to be here. And my heart is we are all. Broken people at some point that are deserving of redemption. Yeah. And that's the whole story of Jesus is a redemption story. Yeah. No matter where you came from, no matter what you've been through, God can redeem your story. You can rewrite your story. You may have already written this point in your book, but there is a time when you can turn the page, and today can be the new day.
That's right. There was what was the quote? My pastor told me that it's a part of a talk I've got to give this weekend. If we were all judged on our worst day, we would never have the opportunity to show our best.
Oh, amen. So good.
I was like, I can't even try to forget that. It's like locked in.
Oh yeah.
So, Tyler, thank you so much for coming by the podcast. I really appreciate you doing that.
Thanks for having me. God bless you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.